recognize you at all. It took away the art of ducking touch. I know you think that I'm ready more. Now that I will and that I should be lost. But the breaking news wasn't that we're over. That we finally took the mask off. My mommy told me that we shouldn't worry. Daddy told me just a good story. He said to move on and keep going. Imagine we had one more life, one more shot at sunrise. Erase everything, start with new eyes. Don't break the same tragic goodbyes. Wanna dance one way. A coffee cup on my nightstand. Not to reminisce, just a reminder to never go back to the life we shared. Anytime I'm feeling the urge to look at a picture, oh, I get so confused. Cause I swear I am so over you. My mommy told me that we shouldn't worry. Daddy told me just a good story. He said to move on and keep going. Imagine we had one more life, one more shot at sunrise. Erase everything, start with new eyes. Don't break the same tragic goodbyes. Wanna dance one way.
Starts with a feeling of overwhelming doubt and shame. It moves to completely seep into my bones and veins.
Told me just a good story. He said to move on and keep going.
1, 2, 1, 2. Coming off the top, y'all know how we do. Listen, I'ma drop a freestyle you can cherish. I'ma send a shout out to the host named Eric. Yo, he's never on some average shit. You know, Eric, he stays loud and passionate. I'm about to break it down for y'all with the clever song. Yo, shout the host named Thomas, cause he's never wrong. Yo, shout to John. You know that he's smart and quiet, unlike my freestyles, which cause a riot. I'm about to do it like this, cause the people love me. Shouts out to PHP, the ugly. It's called ugly cause it's not professional, but I'm about to come through and bless it with style. So let's do it when I'm spitting, I perfume the room. Yo, the segment of the show is called Doom and Gloom. That came from Thomas. Yeah, can nobody go beyond this? I get the mic and then I'm about to keep it like a promise. Yeah, and y'all know we fill them up with anguish. We talking about the PHP, the programming language. About to break it down, no exaggeration. What do y'all do for a living? Web applications. Okay, I can dig it. My words spray tight. They getting together on the Thursday nights. Yeah, when it comes to rhyming, you can call me the new dude. I spew true lyrics while y'all broadcast on YouTube. So let's get it. You know my lyrics are major. All up in the comments, they got plenty of haters, but they doing what they doing. Keep it ugly. We ending every show with the saying it's lovely. Let's go. Hey, shout out to y'all. Peace to the whole squad, man. Hope your channel is doing real well on YouTube. Hope you guys are having fun. And it was an honor and blessing to do this little custom freestyle for y'all. Hope you enjoy. Stay up. Yeah. Come on. Hey.
It's January 26th of 2023, and you're listening to episode 320 of PHPUgly, a weekly developer podcast where we focus on the PHP programming language and community. We stream live every Thursday night around 9 p.m. Pacific time here in the U.S., and you can come join us, be part of the live stream by popping into our Discord at discord.phpugly.com and just hang out with us. We're there all week long, but it's cool. Before we kick off, we'd like to thank a couple of people. We have Honey Badger is going to be sponsoring this show this week, and of course, our patrons on Patreon. And we'll talk about all of them a little later. For now, I am your host, Eric Van Johnson, and with me this week are my two friends, John Congdon.
And lurking in Discord is the king of chess right now, Ben Ramsey. But we won't mention him because we know how you like that.
I like that you focused on the theory behind the podcast, but not the actual content.
Well, yeah, I'm trying not to get them to turn us off too soon. I don't want them changing the channel too quickly.
Well, you've got
that was actually pretty good.
On YouTube now, you have to have that 30-second buffer. We can't say any expletives in that first 30 seconds.
Well, that's why I have that whole starting soon going so long now. I figured that gives us an extra time.
Wait, is there an actual thing there? What are you talking about?
Oh yeah. No,
wait.
YouTube decided at random to change their monetization scheme for everyone going forward and going back in time. So if your video previously had naughty words in the first 30 seconds, you just lost monetization without notice.
Ha,
but why
we don't get monetization?
Yeah.
But why 30 seconds? What is the significance of that?
That's a great question. Moving on.
I hate big bureaucracy. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, me too. All right. I want to hold off on John for a little bit. I don't know how much John is willing to share with us this week, but we don't want to talk about John's week quite yet. Tom, how was your week?
My week, we're recording on Thursday. My week is just starting.
What? How is that?
I close on my house tomorrow. I did almost dox myself in the Discord channel earlier, so if you want to find out where Tom drunkenly posts his actual address, the place to go is discord.phpugly.com.
Hey, if you want to know where I do it, buy an elephant on phparch.com and
Yeah, it's just right there on the label.
yeah.
We have a lot of plans for the house. It all kicks off the moment we get the keys. I am terrified. Maybe.
No, you're not terrified. Excited.
That
is excitement. That is not terrified. You don't understand emotion. That is excitement that you're feeling.
Way to call me out. I do also have difficulty with understanding emotion. However, I'm pretty sure I am excited and or scared.
No, those go hand in hand when buying a house for sure.
Yeah, it's I have plans for like the next 3 weeks down to like the hour of the day. It is kind of a bizarre lifestyle to live where you have everything in boxes. I'm not sure if you can see that much behind me. There's nothing. All the things that were here are gone. And my cats are cowering at my feet.
Because they don't understand.
Yeah, so doing that, and then I have a big release that's due on Monday, which I took off. So I'm pretty sure I will be working on a day that I took off, which is not unusual for any of us in the tech industry. But
you just went totally out of focus there, Tom. I don't know if it's just like you sweating and like fogging up here.
Let's give it a little rub there. Yeah, so a lot of work stuff going on, a lot of house stuff going on. I have 3 teenagers, so that's a sort of a consistent thing. But in a good mood. Eric,
despite being terrified.
I was going to say, I was waiting for what came after that.
In a good mood.
It's so weird to hear from you.
So since we're not cutting over to John, Eric, how is your week?
It's been going okay. I've been a lot of things happening. Lots going on with the conference, and trying to get things organized with the conference. So that's always exciting. Yeah, just kind of fun stuff. I spent a good amount of time, probably more time than I'm proud to admit, setting up the toast cam that I had promised Discord we would have this week. And of course, she won't lay in her bed, but at least she came into the office finally. So that was
she's bigger than I thought she was.
Yeah, I mean she's small compared to her other dog, but she's so thick. I mean, she's got weight to her. She was just weighed. We took her in to the vet last week, and she's just under 80 pounds. She's like 78 pounds or something. And she's a little, man. She's got a lot of puppy still in her, and I'm waiting for it to wear out. I don't know.
Good luck
going to happen.
She's a foster, right?
Yeah. Temporary foster.
Yeah. Temporary foster for the next 15 years.
Right. Yeah. Well, we're gonna find a forever home for her any moment now. Any moment.
I think you already have.
But yeah. But yeah, besides that, work has been going well. It's funny because I've kind of become full-time back on a client, and the client knows that now, knows I'm full-time, and I feel like they pull me in 50 different directions, and I I had a pretty good run there where all I was doing was focused on coding and coding for a different client, not the one that I'm currently working with. And yeah, I kind of missed that. but it's good. It's good to be back with this other client.
I like that. I like that they know you're full time on it, and when they schedule a meeting, it's John is optional.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's good because they've got a lot of what's the saying, irons in the coal and irons in the fire, and so they're always working on a bunch of different things. So that's always fun. Oh, and a couple of weeks ago, I picked up the 3D printer from John. John gave me the 3D printer, and initially we thought, the whole idea was to put it in my garage, but when I went and picked it up, I didn't have the garage ready for it. My wife and I foolishly thought, well, we'll just put it up in her office, which of course is on the second floor. It's not like my office that's on the first floor, directly outside the garage. No, we took it to the complete other side of the house, upstairs.
The other wing.
Yeah, and I got to be honest, John, that thing was way bigger, way heavier than I thought it was. I mean, my God, that thing was so big. So we get it up there, and it's just too big for office. Like the table we have it on, it's barely fitting on the table, and there's no way to open the doors.
It was overhanging this little thing I have behind me.
Yeah, it's crazy big.
It's huge.
So the last weekend, I finally got my garage into shape where I could move it into the garage, and yeah, I've been going crazy ever since. I started 3D printing today, so I wasn't so interested in 3D printing. Like I feel like I had moved on from that, wanting to do 3D printing. I was really interested in the laser etching, and that's what had started our conversation with John and I was asking his advice on what I should be looking for, and he's like, well, just come take this. So I got to, I shared on Twitter. I did my little 3D print of PHP Tech on my wood.
Laser etch.
I'm sorry, laser etch. Laser etch of PHP Tech. Unfortunately, our cameras don't auto zoom, so you can't. But I was really happy with how that came out. I'm like, wow, that looks really good.
Try it on the toast cam, see if it autofocuses.
Oh, yeah, toast cam. Yeah, right there.
But you got to switch the cam.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Where's the toast cam? There you go. Hey, man, this toast cam's working out.
I regret every day having given you this power.
But I'm really liking, I didn't get it centered correctly, and I had already learned like a couple things. This was literally the first thing I tried. But I decided last night, I'm like, well, I want to go ahead and try to print something because it's hard to explain, but the bed that the laser etching goes on, you have to put these little rubber gaskets in place to hold it. And one of the videos I saw is the guy's like, yeah, if you have the snap maker, print these pins for your laser etcher. They're way better than the laser the gaskets they give you.
Oh,
so
really?
I'm like, well, shit, I really want that. So I hooked that up. And of course, what's it called? Thingiverse or
Thingiverse, yeah.
Thingiverse. Oh, forget about it, man. I'm like, I printed up the first thing I printed up was this little pot top holder for the kitchen, and it came out like really well. I mean, there was like some funkiness to it, but all in all, I'm like, hey, I mean, it only took 7 hours. I mean, yeah, sure, I could have run to Lowe's. I could have probably bought one for cheaper, came back, installed it, gone back to Lowe's, get some screws and come back. And all the time it printed, but it printed, and it was cool. But then I printed up my little tabs. Now I'm debating whether I want to switch back to the etcher or not. But
and thus the cycle of printing 3 things and then giving it to someone else continues.
No,
I don't
printed
think
a lot
so.
more than 3 things. And now I want to print a stand because I think you have the same monitor arms I have.
Mhm.
I want to print a thing that goes on the monitor arm for the cameras that we have now.
I can tell you absolutely the first thing you want to do when you give someone else a 3D printer is teach them how to use it.
So
And the second thing you want to do is to buy a new 3D printer. Do you remember in the 90s when the joke was that a computer is obsolete as soon as you buy it? Like you buy a computer and then it's quote unquote obsolete. Now that era is gone. Like you buy a computer now, it's good for probably 10 years. But 3D printers, the moment you buy a 3D printer, there's a GoFundMe that's like, hey, what about this? Have you thought about
look
this?
at these bells and whistles that you're missing on yours.
There was a 3D printer convention this week where they showed off an induction coil based hot end. And I was like, yeah, brilliant.
I need that.
I need that right now. I don't currently have a 3D printer and thought about buying that hot end. just to have it. Just like a part. It's like buying a carburetor for a car I don't have. Sure, I'll do that.
I have to say, I've been watching a lot of videos on 3D printing, and there's only like one 3D printer I've seen that I'm like, well, that would have been nice to have. Besides that, everything else, the one that John got was, what was it, John? The Snapmaker?
Snapmaker 2.
Yeah, Snapmaker 2. It still seems to be like one of the, in my opinion, still seems to be one of the top dogs for like hobbyist printing goes.
Well, it's the fact that it does the 3D printing, the laser etching, and the CNC.
CNC.
Switching between the modules isn't as seamless as I would have liked.
Yeah, I got to experience that. It's like, yeah, this kind of sucks.
It's not bad, but it's not like, it's not, oh, take this thing out, put another one in. It's like, I forget, 16 screws to take out, put back in.
Between the bed and the actual module, yeah.
Oh, the bed. I forgot about the bed. That's like 25 screws right there.
No, and then you got to level and no, I like
It's
I said, I watched this 3D printing conference and they had a large format printer that printed out a BMW bumper. And I was just like, God, I might need that someday though. Right? It's like,
the kids are going to get in an accident at some point.
Yeah.
If I could just print out the car parts, I'd be all right.
Yeah, I've got these 4 cars and it's $45,000. If I divide that by the number of accidents they're going to have, that kind of makes sense.
Oh, Tosa's inner bed.
Yeah. The only one that I've been kind of like, well, that would be nice to have. And well, I say that John brings up the switching the modules. I did see one where the modules just like is hitting a button, popping them off and popping them on. That would be nice. But
oh, sure, that's nice. But then there's like a 45-minute Blender tutorial on how to make a 3D object, and I'm like, nah, don't have the time. Like actual functional stuff that I could fix around my house.
No,
like,
I did
that's
that.
45 minutes. I could be watching like SciShow.
I did that tonight because the wife has a Cricut. I don't know if you know what a Cricut is, but it makes these. Velcro,
I know what you mean.
Velcro?
It's a circut.
Yeah. So Beck, my wife asked me for a stencil of the tech logo. I'm like, well, I don't have a stencil. And she looked me straight in the eyes and said, can't you print one? I'm like, I might be able to do that. So I actually spent a good amount of time tonight figuring out how to make a stencil from the image that I can then turn into something that I could print. And I almost have it done. So I'm kind of excited about that.
What is your
I'm sorry to all the attendees of PHP Tech.
Yeah, what is your price per hour? What is your Diego Dev price per hour, and how much have you spent learning how to make a
He's
cut
having
out of
fun. He's doing
Diego
something outside of
Dev,
work.
is
He's
no
good.
no dollars an hour because there is no Diego Dev anymore.
I
Diego
saw,
Dev has
I
saw that as well.
officially made the first payroll from PHP Architect to all the employees today. So while they technically have been PHP Architect employees for 2 weeks, I officially made payroll today.
Right in time for
And
tax season. I noticed that.
The message in Slack was very much like, okay, I'm doing payroll through PHP Architect. Let's see what happens.
Well, it's because the 401k is still in limbo, and I'm like, crap. Like but I can't. I got to do something. I got to pay you. I can't wait for it to finish.
Yeah.
No,
then
Growing
I saw
pains.
that the frequently fired Kalen did complain about a $1 1099 or $1 for
that was not Kalen. Was not Kalen.
Kalen doesn't even live in this country. Kalen doesn't pay taxes.
That was another employee that complained about that.
But it was a funny complaint.
Because
Because,
they got a W-2 for $1.
Yeah, because as we were doing the cut over, John did some testing and paid everybody apparently $1 on PHP Architect's account, and everybody got a W-2 for it.
So to switch it, to get all of the benefits or the health insurance cut over, they had to see that we were legitimately set up as a business, I guess. I don't know. That's what I was told to do. They're like, you have to pay everybody something. Pay them $1. I'm like, okay.
I mean, I can't blame you.
Here's your bonus. Here's $1 bonus. Congratulations.
I was told on Wednesday that I needed a cashier's check for the closing costs. On Thursday,
a cashier's check or
a cashier's check.
Bank check. What?
That's the same.
I was mine was a
should be a
actually
bank.
What was mine? Yeah, I think John's right. I don't think it's a cashier's check because it was very specific about, hey, you call and make sure call this company before you send them the money to make sure that the account number is correct. And
yeah,
so that's not cashier's check.
That's a wire transfer.
Yeah, that must have been what we did.
So
we
have to get a cashier's check, and then we met with our insurance agent, and they didn't have proper coverage for the equipment at my house that is owned by my company, my employer. So we increased that, which was like a $10 a year difference. So like, yeah, of course I'm going to cover that. But that meant that my closing cost changed by like $7.
And you'd already sent them the money?
We'd already went to the bank, got the check, and they're like, we need a different check to cover that $6.85. And I was like, do you though? Do you?
With the amount of I'm spending right now, you need $7. $6.85.
Yeah. What if I just bring In-N-Out to the meeting? Can we call it even?
I'll bring you a shake.
Yeah. So no, we have to get a second cashier's check for something like $8 and something cents.
Oh, gosh.
And now I'm grateful for the whole like mortgage process because our taxes and our insurance are rolled into the mortgage payment. So I don't have to like write a $5 check every month for this one thing. But requiring a cashier's check for $8, give me a break. Like,
all right. Important news. Ben wants to know what the federal withholding on the dollar is. And it turns out it's like 6 cents. This one person, Social Security 6 cents, Medicare 1 cent, FUTA 1 cent, and the California SUI 5 cents. 13
Oh.
cents.
And my wife today got her 1099 and was like, "Oh, honey, here's the 1099." And I was like, "What the fuck do you mean 1099? You know how much work that is? We just had 2 W-2s." The tax,
Why are they getting 1099?
because you can't like quicken a 1099. You have to do a bunch of legwork for how much you owe for that, even though the IRS already knows how much you owe for that. I'm so tired of taxes. Why am I buying a house? Why am I doing this at all?
Right.
Good
I don't
question.
know. I don't know how much of the story we're going to get, but John, how was your week?
How was my week? Can I start with Tuesday?
I don't see why not.
Tuesday was amazing. I got my personal record of flying at my little hill here called Little Black. Flew for 38 glorious minutes. I went from launch, got up to the towers, which is 600 feet above launch. Phenomenal. Had so much fun just cruising around. I probably could have stayed up longer, but I already felt like I was should have been back at work by the time I was anywhere near getting down. Pissed off that my GoPro decided it just didn't want to work. So I did 1 6-minute flight. I didn't get any lift. It landed, and I'm like, I don't think this thing turned on. So I took it off my helmet. I'm looking at it, like I kept hitting power. It wasn't powering on. I held it down. I heard a beep, and it finally turned on, and it had like 68% power or battery. I'm like, okay, it's working. This is fine. To hike back up, try starting it again before my flight, and it wouldn't turn on. I'm like, crap. It just no good video from the flight. Pissed off. But personal record, phenomenal flight. Loved it. Tuesday night, went to a scout meeting for my kids, which was great. My kid was part of the color guard, got to march the flag up and do all that stuff. And I saw this guy there that, I mean, I know him as a husband of one of my wife's friends. I know him. We've talked plenty of times. There's been plenty of times where he said, "Hey, the next time you go flying, let me know. I want to do this." Sometime last year, it was, in the future, I want to do it. And then he got to a point where, hey, once I get past this deal that he was working on, he wanted to do it. Often when I go, it's last minute, so I never invite him. But anyway, I saw him there. I didn't get a chance to say hi. By the time the scout thing had finished, he was gone. I didn't see him. And I find out today, so this was Tuesday, today's Thursday. I found out today he died yesterday. Out of nowhere, he's gone. And I feel like crap. Like, I saw him there. Like, I didn't go say hi to him, not on purpose. I saw him, and then by the time scouting ended, he was gone. I didn't go say hi to him. Whether he was feeling something and he decided to go home, I don't know. But I didn't get a chance to talk to him at that point. And I can't imagine what his family is going through right now. Like, wife, he has 2 kids. One is in first grade, like my youngest. The other is in third, just 1 grade above my oldest. And it's crazy. It's like, I don't understand what happened. And I don't know that they do either. There's no like clear cut, here's what happened. So that was just weird news today. On top of that, there's stuff with one of our clients that it's been a rough week with them too. And then I can't get into a lot of the details. Part of it is public knowledge. Like, there's a public notice that mentions them, which makes it that much harder. Like, I want to talk about it, and I don't know what I can and cannot say without causing issues because they were wrongly listed in this public notice from the FCC to the point where they are basically shut down from business for the past 2 days. And the crappy part is they cooperated with government agencies starting last summer, getting subpoenaed for information about what the customer of the client was doing, right? They got legal documentation saying, hey, we want this information, but you can't tell them what's going on. They took that as you cannot cancel their account because we are doing this investigation.
What the hell, man?
So here we are a couple days ago, all of a sudden one of their smaller telecom carriers shut them down, but they didn't know why. All the email said was, you violated our terms of service, with a copy of terms of service, but didn't specify what had happened. But it was late in the day, and they're like, oh, we'll deal with this tomorrow. Like, it's such a small carrier, no big deal. Yeah, it turns out later that night, everybody shut them down, and then they're up till like 3 a.m. trying to figure out what to do. And they've been out of business for now 2 days.
They just shut them down like immediately, like no notice, no, hey, we're going to shut you down at the end of this week, nothing like that. Just boom, cutting you off.
Nope. It's a, we are afraid of the government. So to protect our ass, we're just going to cut you off and be done with you, which I understand to a point. So it's more the government agency, the FCC, overstepping their bounds, but that's all being worked out. I can't go into, obviously, details on that. So it's been a rough week all around.
So stop me if you don't want to get into like the whole.
Yeah,
so
we can. I actually have a similar topic we can talk about, unless there's something specific you want to talk about here.
Yeah.
I have a similar topic that we can kind of talk about. Very good.
So I want to bring up the idea of a canary. And this is sort of a thing from the 90s, like the late 90s, where when the government says you can't notify users that we are doing this thing, that we're interacting with your clients in some way, a canary is like a cron job or a manually executed script that just says, hey, we're not being investigated by the government. And inaction was judged as protected. So when the canary stops being updated, then you know that the government is somehow involved. And I've never really, I've always considered that for companies that are running gray area stuff. But it applies to a lot of, modern internet is covering a lot of protected information. Does the situation make you feel like we should be implementing canary type behaviors on all of our stuff?
I got to be honest, I have no clue what you just said.
Well, okay, so let me touch on another topic that I think kind of impacts pretty much everybody in our business, maybe, possibly. It's the concept of businesses building their business based on the service of another business. So, and we're not talking a service like the phone company going out of business. We're saying, hey, our business is dependent on this, telephone company or just this API from this third party. And it becomes this critical piece of infrastructure or critical piece of infrastructure.
Single point of failure.
Yeah, for another business altogether. And another kind of situation like that happen recently, where GitHub decided, hey, we're going to stop supporting PayPal, and they basically gave everybody about 30 days notice, and nobody understands why they're doing it. It was kind of like this abrupt announcement, and a lot of people who depend on contributions from other people because that's a source of income for them, like open source developers, they're saying that they're seeing this sharp drop of contributors now, where people are not contributing because they were using PayPal and they don't want to use a credit card or whatever the other alternatives are. And it's kind of like that same concept. I don't know why GitHub is shutting down, and it's I guess a little bit in reverse here, where they're shutting down their PayPal, accepting PayPal, but the people who have now started to make a living based on contributions they were getting from other people through PayPal, this is impacting them. And I'm like, wow, how frequently I know, like, pretty much every client we work on, there's a single point of failure that's out of our control, whether it be Stripe, whether it be this company that has this API that processes this, image. There's all these single points of failures, and it's just a matter of time before one of them actually fails.
But you can't say that and then say that you don't understand $4 billion acquisitions, right? Like,
I don't follow.
In the past, we've had a lot of conflict over overpaying for acquiring some other business.
Mm-hmm.
But when you say, if there's a single point of failure and that shuts the whole business down, that single point of failure is worth more than its stock value. It's worth more than the amount of money you have paid to use that service. So there's a huge value in closing that single point of failure.
I don't think we've always seen that, though. I mean, like Twitter, a lot of these things.
Twitter,
are not
okay,
like
Twitter doesn't count. Twitter was Elon Musk being an ass clown. That's all there was to it. He talked himself into a corner and was an idiot.
I'm trying to think of one of the examples of the past where
Figma is the big example, where Figma was a competitor to Adobe, and Adobe's entire platform right now is a service suite.
Mm-hmm.
So Figma, if a company just needs
Figma.
No, but if a company just needs Figma, they either have to pay for the complete Adobe suite to get Figma, or they can just pay Figma for the one application. And that's a business-wise, that's a single point of failure. Now, it's not it's not
Adobe?
Yeah.
I still don't follow that.
Because
Adobe has plenty of other lines of business, but it's
but Figma was beating Adobe at their own game for a very particular market segment.
Right. So they were buying it to increase their market share.
They were buying it to close
the point with
their
Figma, and I forget what the Figma deal was. It was something like $4 billion.
$4.7 billion.
And that was my point. Like, there was no way they'll make, even if the fact.
No, they won't.
They will never make that back. There's just no way.
They'll never make it back, except that if you can't get Figma without the complete Adobe suite, then they will absolutely corner the market. And that's worth money to them.
I don't think it's worth $4.7 billion, though.
A lot of people do. But, I mean, this whole concept of single points of failure. I mean, Cisco got bought by, Linksys?
Linksys got bought by Cisco.
Probably.
Something like that.
Yeah.
One of those two things happen.
But the point of the acquisition was to say, hey, the router market is now involving home users. We want to corner the router market. We want to make sure that when a new protocol is released, that our routers dominate that market.
I think you're reading a lot into it. My reading of Cisco and Linksys made perfect sense, right? They were in the same business. Linksys had the home user. I think Cisco, which was mainly focused on businesses, saw value to that and said, hey, why don't we put our name behind Linksys and just have both business and home?
Because
I don't think it was them trying to corner any
because
market.
that is historically against American law.
And
competition is supposed to.
I don't think, and that's what I'm saying. You're saying that they were trying to circumvent the whole fair competition. I don't think that's what they were doing. I think they actually saw their partnership making them a stronger business for both companies. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not saying companies don't buy companies just to put them out of business. We see that all the time in our industry, where you'll buy a company because you want their engineers and you don't want their product. You just want the engineers who created that product. And even that is not really, and even that's not really, we want to put them out of business. It's, like you said, it's a value that they see.
No, but
get crazy is that how much they're paying for this, the value that they're paying for just seems so absurd to me. But we're way off topic, I think. I mean, which is fine for us. It's pretty much on brand. I just think I was thinking, because of the events that happened this week, I did a quick kind of check on, okay, what is our exposure as far as like if one thing goes out, and quite honestly, like from a magazine perspective, if the printer we use decides to go out of business, that's going to hurt us, because the way we use them, I don't know if there's a lot of other places out there that we could use it. What's so funny, asshole?
Just the way you say things. The way you say things, like the way we use them, always makes me laugh. But there are other printer businesses. But I'm saying, if GitHub was just like, hey, fuck all y'all, and disappeared, that's your point of failure.
No, GitLab, Bitbucket, still a thing. I'm
sure,
not
but
self-hosting is easy enough.
But everything's gone. Like
it's not. That's the whole point of having a decentralized repo. It's nothing's ever all gone.
There are some niceties built around GitHub,
like deployment and pipelines.
Yeah, if you're using Actions, that's one thing, but there are other services out there that do very similar.
But we are notoriously not DevOps.
You don't even use GitHub anymore, do you, Tom? Hello?
Haven't used it in 20 years.
Okay. You seem to be doing just fine. I'm not so sure that's the single point of failure you thought it was going to be.
Hold on. Screenshot this for your Tom's reaction pictures.
All right. Going back to my week, because I'm not done yet. Believe it or not.
Well, hold on. Before you do that, believe it or not, we are almost 15 minutes into the show and we haven't gotten
holy shit.
No. I moved the cards around. Let me finish this real quick, and then we can get to that. We talked last week about AWS layoffs, right? I happened to go to get drinks with a friend tonight who worked at AWS, who was affected by the AWS layoffs, and I felt so bad. Like, I completely forgot he worked for AWS at the time. And we went and got drinks and we're talking. I'm like, so how was your week? And he's like, yeah, do you remember AWS layoffs?
It's like, hey, you have a tech podcast.
I'm like,
right?
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 Crap. That sucks. You're right. I'm an asshole. I'm a terrible human being that doesn't remember where his friends work. All right. Now you can move on.
This uplifting episode has been brought to you by Cloudways.
If you want to protect your future.
Fuck, I don't think it's Cloudways.
It's not. And Eric, you're muted. So you're talking like Eric, you're muted.
Yeah, Eric's at this point, Eric is just an ump at a ball game.
If there's a service you don't want to lose, it would be Honey Badger.
When you're in production, 1,000 things can go wrong. You could deploy a bug in your latest release. Your background jobs can silently fail. Someone could trip over the network cable at your data center, and this all comes back to you. You need to know when bad things happen and be able to respond to them quickly. That's why we built Honey Badger. It's easy to install Honey Badger in your back-end applications and front-end JavaScript. It only takes a few minutes of configuration and you'll have monitoring done. That's because we hook into popular web frameworks, job systems, and the browser, so that when any of them crash, we can automatically let you know. We ping your application from our global fleet of servers to let you know about problems with connectivity, latency, and SSL certificates, and we monitor your recurring jobs to see if any of them stop recurring. When there's a problem, we alert your team using the tools you already use. We can create issues in GitHub, Jira, and other issue trackers, and send notifications via Slack, PagerDuty, or other channels. When you click through, you'll be taken to detailed information on the error. You'll see things like request parameters, headers, user information, and the backtrace. Click on any line of the backtrace to view it in GitHub, Bitbucket, or your local editor. When you fix a problem, just mark it resolved and follow up with the affected user. That's Honey Badger. We're the monitoring tool for web developers who'd rather be, well, developing.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Honey Badger.
Thank you, Honey Badger.
Cool. That's awesome.
I have to
All
mention this before we get further. I'm closing on the house tomorrow.
Really? When?
Sun-
I wish you would have told us about that.
Sunday is my birthday, and then I have the 2 days after that off. So I take no responsibility for my behavior in the next week.
That's not how that works.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure you can say, I'm totally going to fuck up next week. It's not my fault.
As a homeowner, I can assure you, pretty sure I have this figured out.
Oh, boy.
Well, happy
Let's go
birthday.
right up.
Do you
just
guys-
2 days early.
Do you
What are
guys
you,
want to
50
get into
now?
PHP stuff?
I want to know how old you're going to be.
Me too.
You don't look like you're a day over 53.
Very
'Cause-
close. Only 11 years off. I am 64.
All right, give us some PHP. I mean, it is in the title, so we should probably talk about it.
So-
I got Ramsey on my ass about it. What?
As you guys know, I haven't put anything on our discussion board for a while because I'm buying a house. But there has
Come, have
been
you stopped buying a house?
I'll let you know tomorrow. There has been some turmoil in the PHP internals about basic math.
About
Math is
release
hard.
managers?
No, math is hard. You got to give it to them.
Math is hard, but somebody submitted a PR that just said saner mathematical operations in PHP. Have you guys seen this at all?
No,
Have
why
not.
don't you have a card on this? This seems like something you would have a
I
card for.
just said I don't have cards because I've been buying a house.
You literally have a card for this. You just you're awesome. All right, let's open this up and take a look at it. Saner
Saner,
and
increment,
decrement?
decrement operators.
Yeah, boom, right there. Let me make this a little bigger for everybody to see. All right.
So
All right. This is what you want to talk about?
We as PHP developers have lived for a long time in the world of very, very loose casting on variables. So if you have a variable defined as A and say A++, then now that variable is B, which is a kind of crazy behavior for a programming language. And there's a lot of discussion as to, well, if you're using an increment or decrement operator on a variable that's not incrementable or decrementable, what are you supposed to do? And the trick comes down to like mostly JavaScript developers who are used to very, very bizarre language functions where if you say plus plus on A, you get AA back instead of B. But these operators aren't supposed to be used on strings.
Right.
And cause a lot of these weird buffer overflow behaviors when you're interacting with databases that are cast to integers or JavaScript, which is cast to extended strings and stuff like that. And there's no PR for this, or there is a PR for this. There's an RFC for this. But there is so much argument about what is supposed to happen. Because the RFC describes every worst case scenario that you can execute in PHP.
Yeah. And this is not a PHP issue. This is a programming issue. I think
this
every
is a totally
language
conceptual thing.
Yeah, every language has these same sort of problems. I helping my Spanish-speaking son with their Python. I started watching a lot more Python, and it's the same conversation. It feels like that we have specifically around how math is handled, how it handles math against strings, and so yeah, like you said, this is a conceptual problem with programming in general. I didn't realize that this conversation was going on. Pretty sure this is because the release managers are so weak.
He's
here in Discord. What am I supposed to do? I've let him slide too long. It's so much fun. It's too much fun. Actually, I'm looking to hang out with Mr. Ramsey in Chicago and in Nashville.
I'm waiting for Mr. Ben to make his move on chess. Let's go. What are you doing listening to us? Go make your chess move.
So there are a lot of questions in this RFC. Like, if a variable is false and you apply plus plus to it, what does it return?
False.
And if you apply negative negative to it, what does it return?
False.
It's still false. Wait, why would that not make sense? I'm just curious. Guess what? True does the same thing, but true. Because true is true. Now, if true returns false, that would be weird.
But if you fetch a Boolean from MySQL from a PDO, you don't get false or true. You get 1 or 0 unless you cast it. So plus plus to a MySQL false is true. And minus minus to a MySQL Boolean is -1. Which evaluates to false, depending on how you're evaluating it. There are a lot of bizarre behaviors. Now, you start getting into strings, obviously it's going to be bizarre behaviors, but the concept here is that, yeah, you can't plus a string. You just can't. It's a string. You have to cast it to like a hex or something that can support it, because plus minus will recast a variable depending on what it needs.
Right. So currently it works.
Or doesn't. I can't believe I'm trying to contribute to the PHP portion of the PHP
You're doing a
podcast,
fantastic job. I do
and I'm
appreciate
getting shit on.
Because honestly, I had zero PHP conversation, and I felt bad about it going into the day. So I'm happy.
I've got a
that
lot
you're
of
doing it.
asterisk talk. I've been doing some fun asterisk things, but
You built your
not
own Asterisk
PHP.
server now.
Well, actually, there's a lot of PHP involved in that. I had to parse XML for the first time in years,
Ooh.
Ugh.
Ooh.
and you can use simple XML load string, JSON,
No, you can't.
JSON encode, JSON decode, and then you have an array, but it's not complete. I was missing so much data.
Yeah.
So then I had to go back to simple XML.
What happened to XML? Like XML was supposed to be the end all be all of feeds, of controlling how feeds happen. Was it just too complicated? Because I know I've never liked it. Even before I coded, I never liked XML.
I think the WSDL kind of screwed it.
Do you want the honest answer?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Remote loading of dynamic rule sets. At the very beginning of your XML document, you can say, I'm using rules from this URL. So not only have you put a third party in charge of your XML definition, but there's no standard behind it anymore.
Right.
Like the standard is just dynamic. And they called that version 1.1. They're like, yeah, version 1.1 XML is there's no rules anymore. Like, well, fuck you then. Like, there's just no rules anymore? Terrible. And Microsoft pushed that as part of the SOAP protocol.
I was saying that was Microsoft they had something else. Was it SOAP? Was that Microsoft's thing?
So SOAP was Microsoft's attempt at creating a standard for a standard, which was that, yeah, this is XML, but there are other rules within the XML that you have to follow. And those rules are defined by an incomprehensible grep statement where it's probably wrong and we have to fix it frequently. So SOAP, for those who don't know, SOAP was this concept that data will travel through one server, be modified, and then be sent to the next server. The big goal of SOAP was that I did my thing to it and then gave it to you. But the I did my thing to it part was I parsed it correctly according to the rules that were initially defined in the SOAP file. I applied my own rules to it and then sent it on to the next guy who applies their own. So at the end of the chain, someone could get something incomprehensibly different from the original file, which is completely contrary to any computer science like idea of how data is supposed to be managed. And yeah,
and JSON is just easier. We'll just put it that way.
I love JSON.
Well, so JSON is actually defined as its own programming language. My buddy who works at a credit card processor, all of their tests are JSON. They have expect, return, submit.
How is that a programming language? Though? That's a
So
I expect to pass you this and get back that.
Because JSON can submit an object. So
Well, it is an
JSON
object, right?
JSON has an object notation and an array notation.
Mhm.
And so when both parties are operating on the same object, then they can load the object, load the data set, process the data set according to the object's rules, and return a result set that's either an object or a data set. So JSON has two simple rules: object or data. And if you're not in sync with what the object represents, then you're out of the scope of the thing that's being done. SOAP was defined as there's no scope except for the scope I send you in the XML header. So you can have any object and you can process data in any way, and no one knows what happened in that black box. It's a series of black boxes. And it just doesn't work. It's a great idea, but it just doesn't work.
All right. So we're 10:05 here on the left coast. So I want to make sure before we get too far ahead of ourselves, and we can keep talking, but I do want to thank our patrons on Patreon, our Patreon supporters. We do appreciate you, and the show is a little better because of your support, and we thank you for that. I think, John, I mean, you get all sorts of like cool things when you're Patreon supported. We get you little discount codes, secret discount codes that we don't share with anybody else for upcoming conferences, and I mean, all sorts of fun stuff. Patreon, that's the way to go. So thank you, our Patreon supporters. Okay, shoot, I had something I wanted to talk about. That wasn't about tech, but I'm going to bring up tech here. I'm excited about tech. Tech is coming.
I can't believe how little we talked about tech.
I know. Oh, that's what I want to talk about. If you're listening to this podcast, I assume you like listening to PHP podcasts. We talked last week about there are reformatted PHP podcasts. And I think I talked earlier this year or the end of last year about how I really wanted to give some focus to PHP Roundtable, because I really did PHP Roundtable a disservice by not doing it basically for a year. I mean, I'll give myself some leeway on it. That last year was absolutely crazy year for me, between taking over the magazine, moving, all that other stuff. There was just a lot of things going on. But I do know that now it's not going to get better, right? And I do want PHP Roundtable to be a thing. Well, I'm in the process of setting up my next roundtable. It'll probably be in February. It will be in February for sure. I don't even have it on the website yet, but what we're going to do is I'm putting together a panel of people talking about education and development education, specifically how people, the different avenues people take to become programmers and become developers. Obviously, I wanted a little bit of a PHP focus, but it kind of goes for anything. And we have a couple of people who are instructors and teach PHP. We have a couple of students who are going to be on the roundtable. So yeah, look for that in February. And then of course I'm going to have the normal roundtable panel be a part of it as well, if they would like to. So look for that. I'm excited. I really do want to try to get PHP Roundtable kind of on a regular cadence again, just for my own sanity. I really like the idea of Roundtable. So yeah, look for that in the coming weeks. But yeah, you're right, John. We have not spoken a lot about tech. Any news on tech? Anything we want to talk about? Because it's just now, it's like we're doing like all the legwork behind the scenes, but like there's nothing really changing for anybody who's potentially coming.
Except for the price is going to increase at some point. One more time.
Right. We talked about next week. Yeah. Didn't we?
Yeah.
Next week.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. So if you want tech tickets, you need to go tell your boss to go buy tech tickets immediately. Because we're just a couple drinks away from saying, fuck it, let's raise the price.
That feels unfairly directed towards me.
Probably. That sounds about right.
We have a company-wide retreat thing that we're doing.
Chicago
and,
in May?
And I was told during a meeting that it was in May.
Chicago is all you need now.
I was really scared for a little bit that it was going to overlap with PHP Tech.
I think you can just make it all one big thing. Make it a team building exercise.
So it is going to be one big thing for me. I'm literally gonna fly to San Fran and do the whole thing, and then from San Fran fly to Chicago.
So in other words, you're not bringing your team with you.
I'm working on it. I'm trying to find an open mind. I can't.
It's 109 days away.
How many PHP developers do you have, Tom? At that company?
I have.
At that, not you. At that company. 5, 6.
If you have to think about it that much, it's a big enough number where a significant amount of them should be going to this conference.
You
some
talk
kind of
about the change that you've made where they were doing things the old way and not using best practices. So it sounds like the larger percentage of the
couple
team
months for a reason.
Sounds like a larger percentage of the team needs that.
I am a firm believer that these kinds of conferences are not only a recruiting opportunity, especially with the number of people that have been laid off recently and in a company that is hiring talent, but it is also an opportunity for people who want to learn and enrich themselves. I am not in any way trying to diminish the value of PHP Tech. I am trying to promote this within my company. It's just difficult from the position that I'm in.
Okay, that was an abrupt end to that statement, but hey, John, I don't know. Do we want to share any
Is there some kind of group buy bonus? Is like if you send 20 developers to PHP Tech,
contact me directly. How about that?
Yeah. Yes, we can make things happen.
So you were asking me a question.
I kind of want to talk about what we might be doing, but since we don't know if we're doing it yet, I don't know if we should. Specifically around the March timeframe.
Is it butt stuff? I mean, the way you're wording it, it sounds like butt stuff.
I know. I don't know how comfortable John feels like talking about this stuff.
About what? I don't know what you're talking about. March
driving long
timeframe.
Distances.
Oh, I'm fine sharing that. I don't care.
So John and we're still acquiring assets from our purchase of PHP Architect. And one of those assets, well, actually, this is a separate deal, not part of the acquisition of PHP Architect, which, by the way, Tom, we did not buy to have a corner on the market of PHP magazines or anything. So you can squash that theory.
I said that
right off the bat.
I thought I said Zend was the corner in the market.
One of the things we did is the company that was running PHP Tech, All for One Productions, is that what it was? Or All for One Events, I think. they had a bunch of equipment, obviously, for these conferences they were running. Well, they're no longer running conferences, and we need equipment, and they had a bunch of equipment, so we went ahead and purchased the equipment from them for the conference, so that we don't have to pay for audio visual things. And the only issue is John and I live in California. Our conference is going to be in Chicago, which, if you're not familiar with how our country is laid out, it's kind of in the middle of the country. Like, John and I are on the far west coast, as low as you can get in the country and still be in the U.S. Chicago is,
and yet you can't stop by his house when you're driving by.
Pretty far north, kind of in the middle of the country, and all the equipment is in Maryland, which is the East Coast, about the middle of the country on the East Coast. So somehow John and I have got to get the equipment, which is in a trailer. It's a huge trailer filled with equipment. We've got to get the equipment from Maryland to Chicago in time for the conference. Ideally, from Maryland to Chicago, giving us enough time to kind of go through it and make sure everything's working and
figure out what we are going to need. That
right,
isn't
what
there.
Additional things we need. So, like, we're like, talking about Smoking Bandit, going whole Smoking Bandit, and just like flying out to Maryland, getting it, and just driving nonstop to Chicago and dropping it off, and all this well before the actual conference. So, like, we would fly home from Chicago. We'd find like storage in Chicago and store it, and then fly home, and then fly back to Chicago, pick it back up, and take it
because
to the hotel.
Because we need time to go through everything, but at the same time, don't want to do it now because there's friggin' snow in places. And did we mention we're in Southern California? We don't deal with snow.
Yeah. That was John hit me up. He's like, "Hey, how do you feel like about going out to Maryland next month and getting the stuff?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, it seems good." And then John's wife was like, "What are you, stupid?"
That's about how it went.
I'll let you jump off a cliff, sure.
You drive from Maryland to Chicago in February.
No. You're gonna have to double your life insurance for that.
So yeah, that's happening.
And Ramsey wants to go with us, so perfect.
Come on, Ramsey.
If only we had a number of people on the way who were literally paying supporters of the podcast and wanted to help us out, whose names should currently be scrolling through the screen. I swear to God, why did I give you this fucking power? There we go.
You're muted. You're muted again, Eric.
We've already gone through this slide. This slide was up for like 10 minutes. What are you talking about? Tom, you're drunk again, aren't you? This is why I have this power now. This is why you lost it.
No comment.
Wait till next week. It's going to be even better.
Yeah, it's
we've already been forewarned.
Ooh, next week I might not be around.
Definitely open to other, like John and I. It's not something we want to do. I told him, like, hey, didn't you ever watch Shipping Wars? Like, that's their whole business. You just pay somebody to move stuff from point A to point B.
I will handle it.
I can't go a mile from my house, but I'll handle it.
No, I have 3 teenagers and a wife who really wants to go to Chicago. I can make it happen.
I think we need it there a little earlier than the actual conference.
Put your faith in me. I swear to God.
Eric, I'll book our trip soon.
Just
you can do that.
Just
I like an aisle seat, John.
Run the numbers. Just run the numbers. We're all friends here, right?
All right. Tom is running out of juice apparently, so we're gonna wrap this up. I think that's going to be.
Do not force me to leave on that note.
Okay.
Okay.
Shit.
You got a better note you want to leave on?
How about a high C?
Love high C.
All right.
I don't, I wish I had Doom and Gloom. I want to go over this real quick. Doom and Gloom is a channel on our Discord that gets a lot of coverage because I used to just do Doom and Gloom for a long time on the podcast, and I'm not very active on Discord. But I have to point out the number of, hey, your microwave or your Wi-Fi is tracking you physically in your room posts warm my heart. I might not reply to every one of them, but absolutely your microwave is watching you.
Okay, real quick. Let me go off the top of my head. Listen, I shared a couple of weeks ago, and I talked about this, and I just don't want to like harp on it again, but like appreciate people you're with. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that. You just appreciate people, whether they're friends, whether they're family, whether they're loved ones. If they're important to you, I appreciate Tom every week, and yeah, so just do that. It's important. But what I want to say is, look, your failures don't have to define you. Your failures shouldn't define you, right? Your failures only define you if you don't try to work through them. We all fail. We all learn, and we all have to understand, and we come up with new things. What can define you are your successes. As long as your failures lead you to success, they weren't really failures. So don't give up. Like if you're struggling learning PHP, if you're struggling learning a new design pattern, something like that, it's easy. It's easy to stop. And then that defines you. You become that person who couldn't do something. But don't. Just kind of push through and just let that be part of the journey. That's going to be my words for this week. It's just, don't let failure define you and keep pushing through. We're here, especially in the PHP community. One of the most supportive programming communities out there. There's always somebody here, whether it's coding, whether it's personal, whether it's I need to move equipment from Maryland to Chicago. You'd be surprised how quickly people step up and are willing to help. So, yeah, that's it. All right, that's going to be it.
Hold on 1 second.
320.
1 second.
You are fucking with my ending here.
Yeah,
you
I
are
am.
pissing
Save
me
it
off.
for after
Go
the
ahead.
I work in the mental health community, and if you're listening and you have mental health concerns and you need therapy or want therapy, please let me know. I am immensely appreciative of all of the people that listen to us that are members of our Discord, and I would never want to deny helping anyone under any circumstances, whether you listen to us or not. So just let me know on Discord. We're all here for you. Mental health is so important.
I really think you should consider reaching out to Joe Ferguson, Tom. I think you working with OSMI could be like a powerful little combination. You should really do that. I've said this in the past, and I've mentioned it to Joe, and Joe was just like, "Don't give that guy my email." But listen, that's how confident I am on this. It's we've got an official word, Ramsey, Mr. Know-It-All. It's OSMI or OSMH. They're going by both. Ugh! No. I do prefer OSMH myself personally. I understand the branding that they have.
I am so appreciative of all of the people that communicate with us, and I just
Time for bed.
I love you.
Okay.
I love you.
We're gonna wrap it up.
Thank you.
Episode 320 of PHPUgly is in the books. I'm Eric.
I'm John.
I'm Tom.
Keep it
ugly.
ugly. I should have had that queued up, and I didn't.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Shocker.
Y'all know how we do. Listen,
I forgot I
I'ma
was
drop a
doing the
freestyle
buttons
you can
there.
cherish. I'ma send a shout
You
out
see, I
to
put
the
the
host named Eric.
Patreons
He's never on some average
on
shit, you know.
the outro
Eric, he
there.
stays loud and
Look at that.
passionate. I'm
No,
about to
I
break
saw
it down
that.
for
I
y'all
got a
with the
notification
clever
from
song. Shout out to
Dropbox
host
that my
named Thomas,
Dropbox
'cause
was
he's
full
never
and I owe them
wrong. Shout out
money.
to John. You know they be smart and quiet, unlike my freestyles, which cause a riot. I'm about to do it like
We need to put our
this, 'cause the
Mastodon
people love me.
handles.
Shouts out
He
to
can't
me,
hear you.
HP, the ugly. It's called ugly.
We need to
'cause
update
it's
our
not
thing
professional, but I'm about to come through and
to have our
bless it with
Mastodon.
style. So let's do it when I speak
tried
time
being
for
louder.
the room. Yo, the
Probably
segment of the
didn't.
show is called Doom and Gloom.
I
and
heard
Or he
that.
ignored you.
Yeah, can nobody go
gonna
beyond
go with
this?
he
I
ignored
get
you.
the mic and then I'm
It's
about
a
to
fine
keep it like a
balance.
promise. Yeah, and y'all know
I
we
hear
go
you
live
guys
with
now. I
the
don't know what Tom said earlier, but I totally hear you guys now.
It doesn't matter. He said he owes like $1,000 because of you, but it's all your fault.
No, I'm gonna try and hook up with the BetterHelp podcast manager, who I'm actually kind of related to, and see if we can get a.
Wait. I again, I'm having trouble hearing everything. Did you say related to?
Kind of.
Hope your channel is doing real well on YouTube. Hope you
That
guys
shit
are
was
having
kind
fun. And it was an honor and blessing to do this little custom freestyle.
No, honor and blessing
Uh,
to you, Harry Mack.
If-
Honor and blessing to you. Thank you very much, sir.
If I can just get us a discount code, like not a sponsorship, but just like a affiliate thing,
Mm-hmm.
would you guys be okay with that?
I'd totally do that. Yeah, no issue
Alright.
at all. I mean, unless we have some sort of moral issue behind the business model, which I'm not aware of any today. Not saying I won't be tomorrow, but they seem like
Dude.
pretty good people.
Please do not get me in trouble.
I can't promise you that.
No, that's entirely my job.
He's talking to himself. Please don't get myself in trouble.
Please, God, please, God, let me stop.
You can kill the recording there, John.
That has been done for 5 minutes.
You are awesome. Thank you very much. Dude, I can't, like, your story about your buddy, yeah, we're gonna
have to
It's
cut that.
It's just so surreal. Like somebody reminded me he was there at my kid's Cub Scout meeting on Sunday, and I didn't even see him there. And then saw him Tuesday at their den meeting or their troop meeting or whatever it is, and then it was just like, jeez.
So,
Well, John,
I-
you're going to be 41 this year, right?
Yes, yeah. Just 41.
And like, home insurance, like for the new house. I'm not sure if you heard, I'm closing tomorrow. And
Try
you gotta
lemonade.
stop letting him drink White Claw during the show.
one of the questions was like, well, how soon do you think you're gonna retire? Like, when is your wife gonna have to live off of your life insurance? And I was like leaning back, rubbing my belly, and I'm like, man, we got like 8 years. I don't like, getting old fucking sucks.
Yeah, it is.
I had two
Depends.
friends die in the last month.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, both John and I, right? I mean, we could have very easily been on the other end of that story. I mean, it just we've both had some pretty
Well,
crazy
yeah,
things.
because they're testicles.
And John's weak ass heart. There's that too. But
Wasn't going to bring that up. That felt insensitive.
and
balls are funnier. I'm sorry.
Man, the one of the reasons why I'm how I am as far as that sort of thing goes, and I've shared with my kids as well. It's like, listen, don't walk away mad, don't walk away. Always appreciate each other. Blah blah blah. When I was in high school, I'm gonna share this with you guys since we're off.
You're on the air.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. It's fine that everybody hears this. It's no secret. I mean, yeah. When I was a sophomore in high school, it was baseball season, and I was really, obviously good friends with everybody on the team. I was really, starting to build up a pretty good friend bond with the person who was our first baseman. And which is ironic because I end up being a first baseman later. I think he was a senior when I was a sophomore. I'm pretty sure he was a senior. Anyways, our game gets rained out, and we're already out of class. Like we're kind of muddling through and trying to figure out, okay, are we going back to class? Or are we going to just skip the rest of the day? Anyways, he comes up and says, hey, we're going to go grab some lunch. You want to come with me? We're going to go eat. And I'm like, I had a test. I didn't really want to miss the test. I'm going to go ahead and take the test. And he's like, all right, I'm fine. And that was the last time I saw that guy. At lunch, he gets into a car accident and he passes on. And it was just that quick. I mean, just that quick. He was a young guy. Like I said, he might have been 18. And he had a lot going for him. He was a good person. I mean, he was a genuinely good person. And he was gone. And that impacted me a lot. And I try to never take for granted the fact that the people that I have in my life and wanting them to understand how much I appreciate them. And that has always hung. I mean, I'm 50 something years old now. I mean, we're talking, this has been with me for 40 years. And I still, to this day, think about it a lot. And how quickly it just like that. It's not supposed to be like that. I mean, it shouldn't be like that. And it is. And that was an accident. I don't know what happened with your friend, but we all know it doesn't have to be an accident. It could just be natural causes. And it could just be, not everybody gets sick and dies. It's just some people just die. And it's just hard.
Unfortunately, they don't know what happened yet. It's still trying to be figured out. Wife came home to him sleeping on the couch, which isn't unusual. He doesn't sleep well at night, so she comes home often, like during the day, and he's napping. Mm-hmm. She came home, he was napping. She thought nothing of it, left, came back later. Kids still in the car, came in, he was still on the couch. She checked on him, and he was gone with her kids in the car. She, trying to see what was going on. And of course, freaking out because her kids are out in the car with it running. So called 911, did what she could. And then, before the ambulance got there, got her kids back to where they were at a friend's house, and then came back. And it's just like,
it was done. Well, we had a really good friend who was with us when we was starting Diego Dev, a young kid. I mean, smart.
Younger than us, way younger than us.
It's so fucking smart. I mean, the guy. I don't think it's saying too much to say he knew everything about coding, like PHP, Laravel. He's the one that got me into Laravel. I fought him on it.
He's like, you got to check out Laravel, but wait for Laravel 4. 4 is coming out. You have to wait. You have to wait for it.
It's gonna change everything. Just wait for Laravel 4. Don't touch it. I don't want you to get used to Laravel 3. Just wait for Laravel 4. And again, great guy. And he passed away a few years ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah, his wife is doing well now. She's lost a lot of weight. Has a new job. She's doing good.
That's good.
I
That's
can't
good.
really get into this conversation.
Okay. Do you want to stop the stream?
No, my experiences have been very different, and
I mean, it's not a competition or anything. Don't feel bad about not having to experience that stuff.
no, I have.
Oh.
You know what happened to me in high school?
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
And that colors things.
Mm. Yeah.
And
Yeah, we had a.
I don't want this to be a competition. But we have had very different experiences with death, and I don't feel like I'm in a place to get into it.
Yeah, no problem there at all.
But now, but now I'm old.
I don't want to get into it. What? Since we're talking.
No, so I had my home insurance meeting yesterday or 2 days ago, where I had to owe $8. But they were like, "Hey, how soon do you plan on dying? Because you support your whole family." And I was like, "Fuck, I don't plan on dying anytime soon." But my uncle died when he was younger than me, and he was a marathon runner. Like, I'm kind of on the right track by eating donuts every day.
Okay. That's one way to look at it, I guess.
It's not going to run myself to death.
All right, I want to get editing here, so I'm gonna kill the stream. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us. As always, it's been fun.
Bye.
Bye.